Hey YouTube, here Twig here, bringing you all my Umbral Horror Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for January 2021. A lot of you have been requesting more of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal deck series, focusing around the 100 number series, and a lot of you have also been requesting a update. I don't even think I've done a deck profile for Umbral Horrors before, so I don't even think we can call this a deck update. It's a completely new deck on my channel, focusing on Vector's deck from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal series, the Umbral Horrors that he used to summon out his main go-to boss monster, which was number 104, Masquerade. You have the option for a good number of different, higher up number monsters in this deck, and also focusing on the chaos numbers of those monsters as well. And the focus of the Umbral Horrors are just to special summon out a bunch of different monsters onto the field. So you can go for the higher Xyz summons, which require at least usually 3 level 4 monsters, and in some cases even some of the lower level monsters. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the Umbral Horror monsters, I run 3 Umbral Horror Unform. I was about to say Uniform. These are definitely also going to be a mouthful for sure with saying Umbral Horror so much. So when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard while attacking a monster, you can special summon 2 Umbral Horror monsters from your deck, and you can only use this effect of Umbral Horror Unform once per turn. It's set up. We have so many different Umbral Horror monsters to go into. Just being able to summon 2 onto the field then gives us resources to use next turn when summoning out our different XYZ monsters from the X deck. And like I said, number 104 Masquerade will be one of our main go-to ones, which just needs 3 level 4 monsters to make. So having that set up with Unform is very, very useful for sure, along with our next go-to level 4 Umbral Horror monster, which is Umbral Horror Ghoul. Once per turn, you can make this card's attack 0, and if you do special summon 1 Umbral Horror monster with 0 attack from your hand. So with that play, you can just summon out Umbral Horror Unform using your Ghoul that much easier on the field. It is a once per turn play, so if you have some other monsters set up, or even if this was one of the cards summoned by Unform the turn before, it just gives you resources to summon out another 0 attack point Umbral Horror onto the field for more and more plays you can make. With the third member of the Umbral Horror deck being Umbral Horror Ghost. I actually use this card in my Dark Mist deck profile, but much more usable for sure in this one as well, giving us the option to go into some Dark Mist plays as well with this card and the level adjustment for one of our next Umbral Horror monsters. During your main phase, you can special summon this card and 1 level 4 lower Fiend monster from your hand. You cannot normal summon or set during the turn you activate this effect, and you can only use the effect of Umbral Horror Ghost once per turn. So even if you don't go for the Xyz plays with the different level of the Umbral Horror monsters you have the option for some Link monsters that you can also special summon out from your extra deck, being a big boost for all of those different plays that you can summon out using your Umbral Horror Ghost, and giving you resources to get ready for the other Xyz summons that you'll do with your level 4 Umbral Horror monsters. For the last of the actual Umbral Horror monsters, I also run 3 Umbral Horror Will-O-The-Wisp with this card. When this card is normal or special summon, you can target 1 Umbral Horror monster you control or in your graveyard except this card. This card's level becomes the current level of that monster, and when this attack position card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard and was face up in attack position at the start of damage step, destroy the monster that destroyed this card. So with it having 0 attack, you might take a big amount of damage depending on what attacked into it, but also having the option to destroy that card and also adjust the level with depending on what Umbral Horror you may have on the field for sure is a great setup to go into depending on what XYZ monster you want to summon out, whether it be Dark Mist or your Masquerade for both of the rank 4 Xyz plays, using all of the different level Umbral Horror monsters we have in the deck for sure. For a little more extra support, I also run 2 Secret Sect Druid Drew. Definitely an interesting name for sure. Say it 3 times fast as well if you want to give it a try. When this card is normal summon, you can target 1 level 4 dark monster in your graveyard with 0 attack and or defense, except for Secret Sect Druid Drew. Special summon that target in face-up defense position, but its effects are negated. You can only use the effect of Secret Sect Druid Drew once per turn. So, more resources for special summoning out onto the field. It does negate the monster's effect, but it is an additional monster to summon out onto the field to use for those resources. Just being able to target that dark monster with 0 attack means you have the option to go either for Will-O-The-Wisp or even your go-to one being Unform for that special summon. For some of the other with the big focus of the deck being obviously summoning out Xyz monsters for a little more extra support for the rank 4 lineup. I thought of adding in an additional rank 2 engine, but then we'd be focusing, I would say, too much on Dark Mist and not on Vector's main go-to 100 monster being number 104, Masquerade. So I'm running 3 Kagito Kage. It cannot be normal summoned or set, and when you normal summon a level 4 monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. This card cannot be used as a synchro material monster. So just resources once again. When you normal summon out a card like Secret Sect Druid Drew, giving you the special summon option, or even just having the option for Kagito Kage, will give you your 3 monsters on the field. But most of the time I like to use the Umbral Horror play, giving you the once per turn, so you can summon out with a normal summon, special summoning out your Kagito Kage, and then using Umbral Horror Ghoul to summon your last resource out on the field to use. So I like maxing this card out, so you always have the option of having it in your hand to use also. For some more special summoning power, I also run 2 Evil Swarm Mandragora, and when your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can special summon this card from your hand. So your opponent doesn't even have to necessarily control a monster and you control no monsters, you just have to have less than them, which then special summoning out your Mandragoras, even if you have both in the hand, can be done as long as your opponent has more monsters than you, and then you can go for your additional Umbral Horror play on the field, and then go for those additional monsters, and then overlay them together for your Xyz monster. I only like to run the 2, though. If I run too many of this card, it just gives you less resources and more reliant on the fact that your opponent's going to have plenty of monsters on the field. If they don't, then you can't really, use this card to its full power. That's why I decided just to run 2 of it compared to the 3 Kagito Kage, because with this card, I'm going more off of the fact of my own plays that I can make use of. Well, Mandragora does still have to focus on my opponent quite a bit there. And with all of the monsters we spoke of so far still being just the Dark Attribute to finish off the monsters, I run 2 Barrier Statue of the Abyss. No monsters can be special summoned except for Dark monsters. So with this, you really do limit your opponent's playstyle and what they can do, not really hurting you so much, and in fact benefiting you to have this set up until you summon out the preferred monsters you want. With this card also being a level 4 monster, being able to be used for a good number of different monsters in our extra deck, since I did decide to focus on the majority of all the monsters in the extra deck, also being the Dark Attribute. The only limit you have with this card, and remember that you have a good access to the number monster, including number 80, Rhapsody and Berserk, but yet you won't be able to go into your number 104, Masquerade, because of the fact that this card is a light monster. But once again, it's a player preference option. If you wanted to take out the Barrier Statue for some other options, you could put in a 3rd Mandragora, or even have some other options for special summoning, like cards like Tin Goldfish, or even Summoner Monk being a Dark Attribute monster that can discard spell cards to special summon more cards onto the field to use. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. For our rank up spells, I'm running 2 rank up magic, Numeron Force. You target 1 face up XYZ monster you control. Special summon from your extra deck 1 number C monster with the same type as that monster you control, but 1 rank higher by using it as XYZ material. This special summon is treated as an Xyz summon. So with this card, you have the option for the type. Since the attributes are different for both of these cards, you still have the play for both of them being spellcasters to summon out, and then the additional special summon any face up cards on the field. Other than that, card's effects are negated other than that card. So a great power up for sure, and running 2 of it gives us the option for other rank up special summons if need be with some of the other number monsters we're running in the deck. I also run 1 rank up magic, the 7th Force. It works perfect with the setup of our 100 number monster when we draw into this card, being able to special summon the resource of our Masquerade back onto the field even after our opponent destroys it, and then go for the rank up of Umbral Horror Masquerade if we don't have the setup already, or if we didn't have the Numeron Force to use to rank up into this card. And I also run 3 Allura Darkness, more draw power. We run a pretty good number of Dark Attribute monsters in the deck, so just being able to sift through them, even if we get like multiples of some of the ones that we can't benefit too much from, especially ones like Kagito Kage that have to go off the normal summon, being able to banish them and then have more draw resources for some other important cards, especially with this card, and then having that option for the draw is a big boost for sure. The only, risky thing obviously would be if you draw the 7th one, but only running the 1, more of a, kind of gamble of drawing into this card, but still, I would say you need the resources for sure when using this one. For some of the other one-ofs that I run in the deck for these spells, I run 1 Creeping Darkness. You can definitely set up good amount of dark monsters in your graveyard as well, and being able to search for a specific one from our deck to our hand of a level 4 one makes access to the good majority of all the different monsters we're running. I also run 1 Reasoning. We're running, the level 1 and 2 Umbral Horrors as well, so we can keep our opponent guessing with the card to call off this one. They can try and say 4, but there's a good chance they might not hit that card and then just give us a free special summon onto the field. Also, 1 Foolish Burial for more graveyard setup of our Umbral Horrors, and then also 1 Monster Reborn for special summoning back resources onto the field to use, and 1 Call by the Grave to set up and disrupt our opponent's plays they may have set up in their own graveyard. And that is it for the spells. Moving on now to the traps. I wanted to run more Corrupted Keys. I was testing out the play. If you wanted to drop any number of other cards we're running for the trap lineup, you can always try adding in additional numbers of these, especially with resources. You target 1 face-up XYZ monster you control. Special summon 3 Umbral Horror Mirage tokens onto the field. When summoned, each token's attack becomes equal to that XYZ monster's current attack. They cannot attack your opponent directly or be tributed, except for the tribute summon or be tributed, except for a tribute summon when that face-up XYZ monster leaves the field, destroy those tokens. So it's resources you can use for either link summoning, because, obviously not tributing them out, using them for the link play, but just giving you more and more monsters to hit into your opponent's plays, and having a pretty powerful monster, relying on the fact that Masquerade will have the option for special summoning out these tokens with its full power on the field. For the rest of the trap lineup, I also run 3 back to the front. The biggest weakness I found in the deck was just having more and more resources to use. So being able to get those monsters back onto the field to use for later on extra deck special summons is a big plus for sure. That's why I'm running 3 back to the front and also 3 Call of the Haunted. Also, with the fact of this deck being a more of a fun version of the deck and making it more, budget friendly, that's why I'm not running any of the Infinite Impermanence in the lineup and just sticking to the Call of the Haunted and the back to the front for more and more special summoning power. But if you want to add in more Corrupted Keys for the token special summon, you can reduce the numbers of Call of the Haunted and back to the front respectively for each number of this card you add in. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. I run 1 number 104 Masquerade, our main go-to boss monster. During the player's battle phase, when an opponent's monster effect is activated, you can detach 1 XYZ material from this card, negate the activation. If you do, inflict 800 damage to your opponent, and once per turn, you can send the top card of your opponent's deck to the graveyard. More player disruption, but the main focus is obviously to set up into C104 Umbral Horror Masquerade. When this card is special summoned, you can target 1 spell or trap on the field, destroy that target. If this card has number 104 Masquerade as Xyz material, it also gains the effect once per turn. During either player's turn, when a monster effect is activated in your opponent's side of the field, you can detach 1 XYZ card to negate the activation, and then basically send 1 random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard, and if you do, half your opponent's life points. This is the power play you want to rely on. Definitely a lot more consistent and powerful than Masquerade, so being able to set this card up with the Numeron rank up force means that once you get this boss monster on the field, it gives you even more of a scary power play to rely on with Corrupted Keys, stopping your opponent's life points, you name it. This is the play to go into for sure. With some of our backup ones being the number 96 Darkness and Dark Storm, we have level 2 monsters, we have level 1 monsters that can adjust their level to make this summon that much easier. If you didn't want to run these cards, you can always consider putting in second copies of both Umbral Horror Masquerade and number 104 Masquerade, so you have the option to go into those cards more than once if need be with those plays. With the last of my number rank ups being 1 number 80 Rhapsody in Berserk and 1 number C80 Requiem in Berserk. This has the equip potential to power up your monsters on the field, especially with your Requiem in Berserk having the 2000 boost and also giving the detach for 1 material on this card to target 1 card on the field and banish that target. Very, very strong for sure if this card has number 80 equipped, which most of the time you will, with the Numeron rank up being able to be an option to use with this one also. For the rest of the Xyz monsters in the deck, I run 1 number 80 Crazy Box, just a fun card to rely on as well, using for all the different level 4 Xyz plays we can go into. If you don't want to run this card, you can always try putting in cards like Tornado Dragon or even Abyss Dweller for this final spot. Also 1 Evil Swarm Exciton Knight, 1 Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, and 1 Phantom Knights of Cursed Javelin for the level 2 plays. If you don't want to go for the 3 level 2 plays, having this as an option just with the 2 Horror Ghosts or the Will-O-the-Wisp is a good option to rely on also. For the rest of the Link monsters, I run 1 Master King Archfiend, 1 Wee Witch's Apprentice, 1 Underclock Taker, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, and 1 Borolo Dragon, focusing on the Dark Attribute just for the fact that I have the Barrier Statue in my deck, so I'm not limited to all of my extra deck plays. Like I said, the biggest weakness of that play is the Masquerade, but that's only if you don't have the card on the field. You can still use the Barrier Statue for any of the other summons and then use the additional Umbral Horrors you have in the the deck to get those other ones out on the field. And as for the go-to plays, like I said before, one of my favorites and easiest ones to get Masquerade out would be to normal summon your Umbral Horror Masquerade and then give the 2 special summons. But if you have your Umbral Horror Ghoul set up when you normal summon this card, you can then special summon your Kagato Kage from your hand, and then once per turn making this card's attack 0, and special summoning one Umbral Horror monster with 0 attack from your hand. So the one that you'll go for can either be the level adjustment or your Umbral Horror on form with the 0 attack, giving you the 3 monsters on the field to overlay into your number 104 Masquerade. And then if you have the luck of drawing into your 7th one to rank up this card, but most of the time we'll use the Numeron Force to then go into our Umbral Horror Masquerade with the potential to half our opponent's life points, since we do have the 104 Masquerade equipped onto it as Xyz material. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy. I definitely want to focus on some other decks for sure from the Zexal series, especially from the Chaos Number series. I do want to work on a Shark deck that focuses on C101 Honor Arc, and then go for the Chaos mode with that card as well. Have to see what I would believe be the best fish lineup for that one, but when that finally happens, I'll definitely be sure to update the deck and bring you all a very, very fun Shark deck profile for that for sure. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.